I am a bit of a penny pincher, just a little bit. I'm getting better, but I'm the type of guy who would sweat bullets in the summer just to save on my air conditioning bill, only to then later on pile layers of clothing on during the winter to save on my heating. So you can only imagine the anxiety that I was experiencing when a deposit I was expecting for $1,000 never made it into my bank account. I happen to own a small rental property out of state, and I have had the same faithful, trusty tenant for years. The problem is that every month this tenant would send the rent check to a property manager, and the property manager would routinely forget to make the deposit into my account. So basically, this person who was supposed to be making my life easier wound up being the very person that was making my life more difficult. Usually, though, the deposits were made after a few reminder texts or emails, sometimes on the 10th, 17th, 21st. When this deposit would be made was really anyone's guess. But inevitably, the money would pop up into my account like a little mini jackpot prize, and then the penny pincher in me would sigh a sigh of relief as the mortgage could once again be paid. One particular month, however, the days ticked by with no deposit whatsoever. A call to the tenant confirmed, oh yes, the rent check was indeed mailed to the property manager, but all calls, emails, texts, carrier pigeons, telegrams, I could not get in touch with this property manager. We were in a brand new month now, and I thought, something's got to be wrong. My ego at this point was spiraling out of control. My penny pincher tendencies were just on a rampage. It was like, how could he do this to me? This isn't his money. It doesn't belong to him. $1,000 is not a small chunk of change. And so on and on and on, the ranting continued. I think I even remember pacing throughout my house as if my body was being possessed. And I finally realized, Derek, you are a Course in Miracles student. I decided to adopt a very different tactic. No workbook lesson ever involved Jesus having us, scream profanities into a pillow. So I really figured anything would be an improvement at this point. So I basically took a really long, deep breath, and I just turned things over to the Holy Spirit. And I thought, maybe I will get some guidance about how to proceed with this. Did I truly need this money? No. I had a savings account like any good penny pincher, so I knew that I could easily go another month and be fine. Was I seeing this property manager through loving eyes? Definitely not. So I decided to play big and walk the talk and truly shift my perspective around this. So I paused, I picked up the phone, and I left something kind of similar to the following. Well, you're probably assuming I'm calling yet again about the missing deposit, but I'm actually not. It suddenly occurs to me that maybe you might need this money more than I do right now. And when I'm on my deathbed someday, I am not going to be taking stock of a check that was or wasn't deposited. Instead, I will probably be looking back on my life thinking about the kindness that I extended to other people. So I know we don't know each other very well, but I think that at the core of who we are, there is so much more that unites us rather than divides us. So if you just need to talk with someone about anything, just know that I'm here to listen. Your life as a human being matters more than little green strips of paper. I hung up the phone and I was nervous. I think there was a quiver in my voice while I made this phone call. And just a few minutes later, the phone rang, and it was him. And he mentioned, and all my years as a property manager, with all the angry phone calls I have received from tenants and owners, I have never received a call like that before. But sadly, he proceeded to tell me that the past few months had been the hardest of his entire life. His wife of over 50 years had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's dementia, and he was her sole care provider. Recently, she had actually left their home when he was out on a property manager visit, and she was found wandering miles and miles away from their house without any idea where she lived. There were frantic 911 calls that needed to be made, and I think kind of most sad for me was that his own children didn't seem to really understand the toll it was taking on his life. They didn't seem to understand that this woman he had been in love with for so many years was now just the shadow of her former self. And so he was just simply falling short on his duties as a property manager while he was trying to navigate this situation with his wife. So this was a man I only knew on a very superficial transactional level, but as he began to open up to me and share these details of his personal life, I was kind of overcome with what I can only describe as a sense of wonder. Neither of us could have predicted that this would have been the conversation we'd be having as we woke up that day, and yet here we were. This man was choking back tears on the phone with someone he barely knew and talking about things that he couldn't even reveal to his own children. So moving from this person owes me $1,000 to this person is my holy brother who needs my love and support, making that kind of a dramatic shift within the span of a few minutes, that is something that never could have happened prior to A Course in Miracles coming into my life. Never. Not in a million years. It just would not have happened. And, lest there be some cynics out there, some skeptics that are like, maybe he just invented that story to garner sympathy. I actually was able to confirm every detail through my trusty tenant, who had actually met this man and seen his wife deteriorate. So as we finished the call, we just decided, from now on, the tenant can just deal with me directly. That's one less thing for you to have to worry about. And still, I told him, I said, if you ever need somebody to talk to, you can always reach out to me. And just as we were saying our goodbyes, he said, oh, one last thing, just check your bank account. Because just after I heard your message, I put the $1,000 into your checking account. So here, the penny pincher had finally relinquished his attachment to money, only to have the Holy Spirit return that money to him, but this time wrapped in this deposit slip of love. I mean, it just sort of warms the cockles of my cold, penny pinching, too cheap to turn on the heater heart.